I'm not pissed off. I'm having a great time. And if other people are pissed off at what I'm saying, maybe it's you.
Hey everybody, welcome to today's Jeff Heilman project. It's good to see you again. We were out last week, but we're back in the studio.
What number is this? 96?
This is 100.
This is 100?
100!
What? I didn't even know. How did we get to 100 episodes of the Jeff Heilman project?
Bum, 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 bum.
That's what it sounds like. Yeah, that's what it sounds like. This is celebrate. We got to do a little Tony Stark music over the top of it. 100 episodes of the Jeff Heilman project. 100 like full length. That doesn't include what another 450 or 500 reels that Andrew's posted, like 10 a week, or 5 a week for 10 weeks for 2
Andrew
years.
is the boss. This is a win for you too.
Yeah, and
Mr.
we
Drew.
have some great news for the family, which is that Andrew has his driver's license now because he passed the test.
We have another license.
This is now permanent record. So we will always know that the 100th episode of the Jeff Heilman project was also a time capsule for the public recognition of Andrew's driver's license test passed. And what are you going to do, Andrew? Yeah, it's exciting. What are you going to do with your newfound freedom?
I don't know. Maybe go on a couple of trips I've got planned up with my siblings.
That's so nice.
That's nice. That's great. That's what homeschool kids do, and what our family culture, which has been all about high fives in the hallway, how you don't allow a member of your family to pass you in the hallway without acknowledging them because we think that's nice, and that we don't go to bed mad ever under penalty of death, practically. Not really. Nobody's died.
We're not perfect. I'm sure there have been some moments where there have been some
but for the most part, it is a rule that we are really tough about, and that we don't go to bed mad, and it creates a family culture.
What was his name? Tim Gunn?
Tommy Gunn?
No, he was from Project Runway, the mentor.
Oh yeah,
and
I remember.
He used to always say,
"Make
it right." He used to say, "Make it right." Like no matter what corner that you got into, no matter how bad, you make it right.
You got to fix it. That's
and
right.
I
and that's what you did.
Make it right.
That's right. So
make it right.
So here we are, episode 100. We have a special episode planned for you for today, and Jessica.
Well, it coincides. It coincides with what we've been talking about over the last few episodes. We have been working through the acronym of HEALTH, HEALTH, and today happens to coincide with the letter L, which is the length. Like what length are you willing to go to in the health of your family, in the health of your business, in the health of your life, like living a healthy life? Like are you willing to go the distance? Are you ready to accept the responsibility that your life will pass you by regardless of regardless of whether you do anything with it or not? Time keeps marching on, and I'm going to give the mic over to you about what we learned about time this morning, because it's not wasted, but there is definitely a way that you can take advantage of your time and to use it properly. And then look at your length that you're willing to go and see, like, are you willing to go the distance? I saw a Instagram reel the other day that was really, it was like, so you say you're willing to die for your family. Yes, I'm willing to die. Everybody says, I would die for my family. I'd take a bullet for my greater love has no man than to lay down his life for his friend. Well, but would you be willing to eat healthy for your family? Would you be willing to go for your dreams for your family? You're willing to die for your family, but would you be willing to fast for your family if that's what it took? Would you be willing to choose good food over bad food? So it's like, how are we living, and are we willing to go the distance in our seizing the day? And so for our 100th episode, we will seize the day and talk about it.
Love it. So we were talking
time
earlier today about Jamie. Today was also the day we finished Jamie Winship's book, Living Fearless.
Yeah.
Which to me is an incomplete phrase. It should be living fearlessly, but poetic license is allowed on this one. It's a fantastic book. We've talked about it a couple of episodes before, and he's effectively a military guy. He's a police officer who moved up the ranks and ultimately ended up ministering to people in the Middle East,
Muslims
like
in the Middle
Muslim
East, yeah.
countries, which that's not for the faint of heart. And he did it for a long time, and felt called to do it. Felt like it was absolutely necessary, and that there was nothing else for him to do, and didn't care about dying as much as he cared about doing what he felt God led him to do. And he talks in the last 5 pages about this concept of time, and how in the Bible there's 2 words for time. We use the word time, and it means one thing really, or there's only one word for it. But there's 2 words in the Bible. One is the word Chronos, which is hours and minutes peeling off of our life as we go through time in a linear,
The literal days passing.
days passing perspective. And then there's another word in the Bible called kairos, Kairos, and that has to do with moments in time. And the story that he tells is the story of Israel in the desert, and how, and this is not a biblical channel. I'm not here to preach or convert anybody to our faith. But this story is so riveting that if people can just hold on to a Bible story on a secular podcast for just a minute, he tells the story of the nation of Israel had the opportunity to move into the Promised Land, and for 14,600 days, their moment was just waiting for them. And they didn't miss the time, the moment in time. They still got the moment in time. It's just that it took them 14,592 days longer than it needed to take.
Like it's like when you're striving, or when you're working toward changing your stature in life, going from being on a welfare recipient who is at struggling paycheck to paycheck. The chronos, or the amount of days that it takes to work through that, is one thing. The established change forever, because you now have graduated, have your degree, are working in a position to where you've received, that's a altering state where your entire family moving forward. That's a moment in time that permanently affects your family moving forward, which transcends time, because now your children and your grandchildren and your children's children have this totally different perspective of life, based on different than where you perhaps came from, so I love how he talks about in the book about how the Israelites are wandering through the desert, and it's taking literal time, but after the period of the 40 years and the next generation comes up, they didn't miss their moment. It just took a lot longer than what the 11 days it was supposed to, it should have taken.
They could have, and they could have brought more people, because obviously 40 years there's going to be people dying off.
Yeah.
So then that question becomes, how do we look at time?
Mm-hmm.
Do we look at time as wasted? I've been at the company I'm at now for a couple of years. It's been good. I was at Oracle for 4 years. I was at IBM for 3 years with a year of consulting in between, year and a half of consulting. I was at Intel for 3 years before that. I was at Tagile for 3 years before that. And I was at Cisco for 5 years before that. Was that wasted? Wasted effort? I don't think it was wasted effort, because I still got the Chronos moments in time. I was born. I had my education. I was on my own. Some people are on your own earlier than others. I was on my own as a teenager, which was unfortunate by most people's standards, but it created in me a fire to want to create a life for myself and to be sober for as much of that life as possible because I had bills to pay at a very young age. Getting married was a Chronos moment
Mm-hmm.
to you. One of the most important moments of my entire
Oh,
life.
kairos.
Kairos. What did I say?
Chronos.
Chronos. Yeah. No.
Kairos moments are
is
the ones
is the
that are
moment in
like
time. Yeah.
the life-altering.
Um,
And it's interesting because it's amazing how he was talking about identity, especially. And like, we've had friends that it's like they turned 50 and now their identity is I'm 50, I'm supposed to be driving this car. I'm supposed to be living
totally.
in this
That's
house.
very true. Yeah.
And so they now walk into their identity when, who's like, if that wasn't their picture, if they weren't so locked in that it had like that 50-year-old represented that picture, they could have had that at 43. They could have had it at 41. Like, as soon as the identity and the picture came together, then you can have this life-altering moment. It seems like, at least that's what he seems to be talking about,
Yeah.
that it doesn't have to evade you.
Well, and he leads to this story of this guy who's incarcerated or had been incarcerated and was not doing well. He was 45 years old. He was estranged from his wife and his daughter, was not making much money, was kind of pissed off and a recovering alcoholic. And he digs down into understanding, like, where was the moment where things started going sideways? And it turned out that his dad really wanted him to play rugby. And he didn't want to play rugby. He's a gentle giant, but he was so big and he got so much accolades for it that he kind of got conditioned to be supposed to be angry so that he could be a better rugby player so that his dad would get off his case. And that was like my dad with education. My dad wanted me to go and make him proud, be a doctor or some, super theologian of
Science and engineering.
And ended up my younger brother gave him that by getting a master's in electrical engineering from Stanford. But I the only reason I wanted to go to school was to play golf and chase girls and drink beer and basically do what most kids in school really want to do, which is just avoid the harsh realities of life. And I didn't really want to avoid the harsh realities of life. I wanted to chase girls, I wanted to drink beer, and I wanted to play golf. Like, all three of those things were proactive, success-oriented targets in my mind, and make money. And so if we look at the moments in life, whether it's having kids or the career selections that you make, I know a lot of my buddies at Cisco right now are leaving. They're taking packages. A lot of them look like deer in the headlights because they've just been on this path for 15 or 20 years. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at it the way that I looked at my moment when I got laid off from Cisco in 2008. And I was like, this is your moment. This is a kairos opportunity for you to reinvent yourself. If I had stayed at Cisco, I would have made money and done ESPPs and vested shares and all that stuff. But in the time that I left Cisco, I started a software company that at its top was worth $750 million. I got into private equity. I sold all the cool stuff at IBM and analytics that I wanted to do. I understood how APIs and enterprise app integration worked from 3 years at Intel. I played 10 years of professional golf that I probably wouldn't have been able to do without the extra money. We had an additional, Osh was already born at Cisco, but Teddy and Ness, we had 2 more kids. I spent a year consulting, doing something that was a dream that I'd had for 10 years in my mind, and I was able to be autonomous and not need a job and travel around the world for a year on my own ability to eat what I killed as a consultant. So when we look at those kairos moments, they're usually preceded by fear and panic of something going seemingly horribly wrong. Getting pregnant when I was 20 years old.
It's
that was
interesting
scary.
that you bring this up because just yesterday, before we read this portion in the book,
Yeah.
just yesterday, Madeline and I started going to the gym together. And it's like a girl date thing that Jeff and the boys have their heavy lifting, weightlifting together. And now Madeline and I have our little
Yeah.
purple gym that we have started going to. But we were driving together, and part of the cool thing as your children become older, for those of you who have little kids, is finding these things like going to the gym, or even as they get over 21, going and grabbing a beer together sometimes, or going and getting hot wings or something. Like, you'll find new things to be able to do with your young adults and your adult children. And so having this time together, she was talking to me. She was reminiscing. She was thinking about how she grew up, and like, yeah, dad was always gone, but I didn't feel like dad was always gone, like, avoiding us or not. Like, he was just always working, and you, mom, had always talked to us about the fact that dad was working, and so it wasn't like that big of it wasn't a major ordeal that dad was always gone. She didn't feel like she was absentee, or that you were absentee. You just were just working.
I did travel a lot during
And
her years. She was born in 2002,
and
and
so
from 2002 until 2000,
she
basically until
said,
COVID,
she
I was
mentioned,
gone a
she's
lot.
like, but then she also equated it with, not having a lot of money. Like, we had food and we had everything, but just not, exceedingly abundantly. And she kind of, she in her narrative was painting a picture of, well, that it was the kids that we were having that was costing, that, like, it was every time we had a kid, like, we ended up, it cost more money every time we had a kid. And I had to stop her, and I said, okay,
It's
now
the
wait.
job changes.
I said, hold on, time out. I said, what you have to understand now that you have a better concept of money is that every time you have to move or reinvent yourself in any capacity by taking a new position or new job, it's going to cost between $10,000 to $20,000 and 6 months of
At
ramp up
least.
period at least.
least.
So I said, what you in your where you're at in the family line, being number 3 of 7, were privy to and able to witness or part of, is seeing your dad have to, like, literally reinvent himself on multiple occasions, see us move on multiple occasions, and each time it's like it's a push and a pull and a push and a pull, and it's like you go forward and then you go back and then you go forward, but it's to leap forward each time, even though you're coming, you go back a little, but then you go when you do go forward, you go forward further. And so I was just talking with her yesterday before we read this book about the Chronos and the kairos moment. Like, every time that we have made a strategic decision to go for the kairos moment in time, and the thing that's going to permanently change your position, permanently change our financial status, permanently change our location in life and where we're living, like for a better house or a better situation in our environment, that it set us back financially $10,000 to $20,000, which I also explained to her. For the first 20 years of our marriage, we were living debt free per cash. So every time you're going to take that physical hit in cash out of the bank, because we weren't leveraging debt or using any kind of debt in order to service that. And on top of that, the cost of just having to reinvent yourself of time.
Yep.
But the hours were certainly never wasted, because it was like we've been living a life of going the distance. We've been living a life of dramatic spiritual, mental, physical change to position ourselves in a better position than we were prior to that.
Yeah, and I would say that also, if we look at her life when she kind of came on the scene, she was born in 2002. So by 2007, 8, like between 2008 and 2014 was the worst for me. We had the crash of 2018. We had another
I think
crash
that's
in
probably the worst
2014.
for a lot of people with
But for
08.
me personally, like,
Yeah.
I lost my good paying job at Cisco. Then I worked for free for 3 years, building a startup company at Tejal, and had no money. And then at Intel, it took me 2 years. I went through CA for a year and a half, and then it took me 2 years at Intel to get to where I was making what I was making at Cisco before. So it's basically, 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. How many is that? 6 years, 7 years of living on a third, less than a third of what I was making at Cisco. It was a horrible time. It was horrible, and that's right as she's coming into, like,
Yeah.
wanting Barbie dolls and nice clothes and vacations in
Yeah, but
Disneyland.
I always encourage
so
anybody.
she kind of took it.
I encourage anybody that's in a
Took some hits.
situation like we are as young, like if you're going to have kids young before you before you were making money, like
If
work
you're gonna have
now.
kids, have kids.
Work hard,
Do
work
it as soon
hard
as you
when
can.
they're babies because trust me, as much as it would have been nice to have more dolls and things for her, she is loving life going to
Yeah.
the Met with
She's a
you in New
badass,
York
too.
City,
Like, I
going
would
to the
not wanna meet
Carlisle for
Madeline.
her first drink at 21 at the
20,
Carlisle.
actually.
At the Carlisle in New York City. I mean, we paid a price. She did pay a price, and she did
She
have
did.
to see us struggle and see us have to eat, a lot of pasta and potatoes. But now, while we can't necessarily just write a blank check for all of the stuff that we would like to do, because we
No,
can
but we
always
have-
outdream it.
We have cash flow now,
But
which we
yeah,
didn't have.
yeah,
We didn't have cash flow
she
for a
she
long
can
time.
now she can actually really enjoy it now. And
Yeah.
and being able to really enjoy it. And that's what she was talking about yesterday was, she said she started off the whole talk by saying, I'm just so grateful and I'm so thankful. I see how privileged people are on like her age on TikTok and how like spoiled rotten they are and privileged to be able to,
Yeah.
They're getting brand deals at like 12 and they've never had to
Yeah.
struggle or see their parents struggle at all. And she's just like, I feel so privileged to have been able to go through and see what hard work looks like and what going the distance feels like and what it looks like. And I'm grateful and thankful for where we are and what we have because of it. So
Great. We also crossed 300 subscribers.
woo!
That's pretty cool. Like it took us like about 8 months to get.
I know. Well, I know we can't play it on the, or we'll get copyright infringement.
Do we have copyright
Will
infringement?
it,
I don't know.
will
We'll
it
have to
flag
check
me,
and see.
Andrew, if I sing? Rah, rah, rah. They'll be like, nobody knows what that is.
Like Elaine. We're just having fun. This is who we really are. We're having fun. We're enjoying ourselves. When we think about the kairos, moments in time, what I would ask you to take away from this podcast is take a piece of paper out and go back and look at the moments in time that were pivotal for you. And then spend time in prayer, in meditation, however you do it, where you can get quiet and allow what Napoleon Hill called your other self or the Holy Spirit, your self of the self or the real you, as my friend Alexi likes to say. See if you can get that real you to answer the question, what's my next big kairos moment? And then a little takeaway from Jamie's book. Should I do it? Will I win? What do I do next? The should I do it? If you're being prompted by anything in the metaphysical where you feel that you're obligated to try to do something. I tried to play professional golf for 10 years. It was the dumbest idea I have ever had on paper, but it was something that it would not go away. I mean, I'd wanted to do it for 30-something years, and I wanted it and wanted it and wanted it.
Baby, I believe in you. I think you can still do it.
Only
Let's go
thing.
amateur and let's join a club and go amateur and get on Champions Tour.
And looking back at it, it was one of the best things that I could have done because I did what I felt like I was supposed to do. I did what I felt like I was put on this earth to do. Now, the evidence did not agree. The results that I got, you can go look it up on Blue Golf. I finished pretty much at the bottom of every leaderboard of every qualification event and every mini tour event that I ever played in. And I didn't make any money. I spent a lot of money, tens of thousands of dollars in doing it. But it was something that I had, it was an itch that I had to scratch. And I scratched it as hard as I could for 10 years. I got the best coaching, the best equipment. I changed my meal plans, my body type. I lifted weights. I hit thousands and thousands of balls every month and played in as many events as I could get in. And it was to feel alive like that, doing what I knew that I was supposed to do. I want to feel that way again. I want everybody to feel that way. Maybe not every minute of their lives, but I want them to at least experience what it's like. If you have paintings that are inside of you, schedule a show and make paintings. If you have music that's inside of you, schedule a Starbucks or a coffee shop set and go pick 15 songs and go learn them and play them and practice them. If you want to play in a tournament, if you want to play as a professional athlete, if you want to be a race car driver, if there's something that is a kairos moment for you that allows you to click over and say, I'm not just going to be a Walmart greeter or whatever, auto parts store salesman like what I was, $8 an hour, for goodness sakes. I think that there are a lot of kairos moments that are waiting for you. They're just waiting. They're like the promised land is like sitting right there. It's right in front of you. It's just a couple of days' journey away. I wanted to travel across the country, so I did. 6 weeks. I did it on less than $1,000. Stayed with family, camped, slept outside, ate more Jimmy John's than you can imagine. But I did it. I was able to drive all the way to Pennsylvania and back from San Francisco on the mid and low routes. I did what I wanted to do. I learned how to ski. I learned how to snowboard. I took flight school lessons. I played professional golf. I got married. We got 7 kids. I've done 10 startups. We're constantly in the process of doing the things and working through these kairos moments. And part of that is we had I had a pretty rough upbringing, and so there wasn't a lot to lose. So the fear of trying to do something wasn't that big, but I still deal with that. I still deal with trying to work through fear and procrastination and overwhelm. I'm human, just like anybody else. But I think that I've done some superhuman things, and I've been able to take advantage of those kairos moments, these moments in time that show up on the radar that give you a window into trying to do something really special. And I hope that we could be an encouragement to you on that.
100% I agree. I think that, choosing to walk in our identity, choosing to walk the path, going the leap, going the distance, auditioning for that play. I remember in the beginning of when we first started the podcast, I know that a few episodes in, we were talking about just encouraging you, go to open mic night, pull out the guitar, just whatever, let's be bold. Let's be brave. My word for 2025 has been that I've been holding on to is create and dominate. Like just whatever, like if you're being inspired to create it, do it and dominate with it. Like own it. Like just keep creating, keep doing, keep going, keep moving forward, and you will eventually find yourself not, what's worse than going to bed bored at night? I don't know, because it's been so long since I've gone to bed bored.
I usually go to board I usually
go to bed exhausted. But there are people that are probably listening, or maybe somebody shared this episode with you, and you're like, what is this? What? Who are these people? But they're
2025 right now.
Going to bed bored,
April
and
9th.
I don't know what is more sad than the thought that you're just going to bed because you're just bored. And you can't think of anything, or maybe you've just habitually become habitized that, you just wake up and go to work and eat food and go to bed, and that's just not what we here at the Jeff Heilman Project are advocating for. We're your advocate.
And we've all had those Groundhog Day. We've
Yeah.
all had those Groundhog Day days.
Yeah.
I've had them. I've
But
struggled with them.
that Chronos time will just tick away, and it'll just pass you by until you boldly can begin to walk in that identity of that person. You might be overweight, and yet you've always felt in your heart that you've been called to do a marathon or a triathlete, or but people since you were little could say that you would, oh, you could never do that, or you're too small, or you're too scrawny, or you're too this, or you're too stupid, or you're too that, and that a lot of times I've heard it said that those are that's being said to you because that's what you're supposed to be pursuing. Like you're being told that you're stupid because you're actually brilliant, and that those are the people that are keeping you down because they're jealous, or they don't want to see you succeed, or they can't understand success, and yet you listen to the lies.
Haters are everywhere. Haters are when I go through the comments.
I don't even know. Do people comment?
They do.
I don't even.
They
I
do,
don't
and
even
it's
go
like
on YouTube.
1 out of 10
Hey
is positive.
haters, hey.
They're like, Jeff's fat. Jeff's a jerk. He's a bad dad. You suck. You don't know what you're talking about. You're deranged. I'm like, all right. A lot of people have some pretty negative opinions.
That's confirmation that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing.
I'm definitely doing something that's pissing some people off. So, I learned a long time ago, if you want to be successful, figure out what the masses are doing and then do the opposite. Well, if I'm pissing off 90% of the people that listen to this show, that would be the masses. And that probably means that
you're right where you're supposed to be.
I'm doing what I'm supposed to do.
Exactly.
Because I'm not pissed off. I'm having a great time. And if other people are pissed off at what I'm saying, maybe it's you.
Yeah.
Maybe some of the stuff that I'm saying could be beneficial for you to actually say, oh, he's got a big family. His wife doesn't have to work. He makes plenty of money. And he's saying stuff that pisses me off. Maybe I could learn something from it. And I can tell you that I also was pissed off when I was broke, going nowhere, had no opportunity, had a horrible self-image, had a horrible self-narrative, had never done anything financially to speak of other than buying my mom's used car off of her for $100 a month payments, working my job at the mall. When I was in that situation, I was pissed off by successful people too, except that they were rich and doing what I wanted to be doing and had the information and had gone through a personal transformation, as I feel like Jessica and I have and continue to do. So we're not doing this podcast to piss you off. If that's a necessary outcome from it based on where you're at personally, give your head a checkup from the neck up and see if there's something of value that you could pull from this that might inspire you to be like, all right, maybe the guy's not 100% idiot. Maybe he's only 90% idiot. But what about the 10%? What about the things that I'm saying or that Jessica is saying that could encourage you that maybe there's another way to look at something? So that's my position. I'm sticking to it. I don't apologize for pissing people off on this show because we're not trying to do that. We're not going at people. It's not politically motivated. We're not spiritually motivated necessarily to take certain positions on things. But we do have strong opinions. And why is that? Because you got to make decisions when you're in leadership position. And if you're going to make a position, if you're going to make a decision on something, it's important that you have a frame of reference that at least gives you a standard operating procedure for making good decisions, at least most of the time. Not all the time, but a lot of the time. So I think there's something here, gang. If it's pissing you off or rubbing you the wrong way, if we say stuff about Trump or we say stuff about education or we say stuff about money or about influence or about being in business, if it's working for us and it's not working for you and you're mad, we're not going to change. So hopefully you'll have something that can help up-level your thinking about it and get the results that you're looking for in your life. That's why we're here.
And if not, just keep stepping. Hit the road, Jack. Don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. But all jesting aside, thank you for continuing
Thanks
to
for our
come
100th
back
episode.
to the show. Thank you for the 100th episode, whichever way this is supposed to go. 100.
100. 100.
And here, cheers to
100
more.
H.
May the coffee be. What is that Bedouin saying?
May your coffee be strong and your women be
bitter, like your mother-in-law.
bitter.
I don't know.
It's something like
whatever
that.
We'll
have to look up that quote.
God
Anyway,
bless
and
you guys.
A big thanks to Andrew Heilman,
Yes. Thank
Andrew
you,
Franklin,
Andrew.
for producing 100 episodes of the Jeff Heilman Project. Andrew, could not be prouder of the work that we put together here, and it is because of you that we have a public audience. Thanks, bud. Love ya.
Bye, guys. See you next time.
See ya.